What were you most shocked to find out was a practical effect and not CGI? There's a scene in The Prestige where Christian Bale rolls a coin along his knuckles, IIRC, it's while he's making out with his mistress/GF. I remember reading an interview with Hugh Jackman where he said that Christian practiced that for hours on end until he could do it, and he was super salty about the fact that everyone just assumed it was CGI. ETA, it was his wedding ring, not a coin. It's been a long time since I watched it and Hugh called it by its name, a griffin roll, as another commenter pointed out, hence the confusion. Good Omens series. Neil Gaiman said he wondered how they were going to do the scene where the demon Crowley, played by David Tennant, drives a flaming Bentley to the side of the apocalypse. He was surprised to learn that they were planning to do it by putting David Tennant in a Bentley, setting it on fire, and having him drive it. That show was so beautifully shot. I'm just so glad it wasn't terrible. They cut my favorite characters though, the alternative riders of the apocalypse. The door to the Chamber of Secrets with the snakes circling it. Chamber of Secrets has some great special effects. Basilisk still looks amazing. Edit, my first award on Reddit. I don't think I have even deserved it. Thank for the silver whoever you are and I wish you the best. Basilisk used to give me nightmares when I was a kid. I recently watched Chamber of Secrets and realized that I didn't remember some sequences from the fight between Harry and the Basilisk. I must have always covered my eyes as a kid. A lot of scenes in Lord of the Rings with hobbits around big folk. I always thought it was clever CGI for the most part, not clever cinematography and doubles, though some scenes are still CGI. It's more very smart blocking, position of the actors, and set design than cinematography. Yes, forced perspective. I'm fascinated by this technique. I've watched all the BTS from Elf. Will Ferrell is already a giant, but this really sold him when he was in the North Pole. The robots' cars and case were built with a human moving them. The vast majority of scenes in Interstellar are practical effects. Nolan hates CGI. Even the bookshelves in the Tesseract were real projections while Cooper was hanging from a rope quite high in the air. Damn, that black hole was real. The truck flip from The Dark Knight. This. They blocked off a Chicago street and flipped a fucking semi. Not a model. A full-sized semi-truck. And it's still not the craziest movie scene filmed in Chicago. The Blues Brothers got to crash an actual car through the actual front window of City Hall. Those classic Old Spice commercials with scene switches and Terry Crews. Tons of practical effects and amazing effort. Wait, what you're saying is that Terry Crews actually have 10 arms. Till. Just imagine the amount of makeup it takes to make them invisible in all of his 2-armed clips. Rumor has it Terry Crews spends about $3 million a year on makeup. And that's nothing compared to his yogurt budget. The weightlessness in Apollo 13. Not CGI, not even wires. They built the spacecraft sets in a reduced gravity aircraft so they could film in actual weightlessness. It's incredibly difficult to do, as each period of weightlessness only lasts for 24 seconds and is preceded and followed by a period of 2 gs. And the reduced gravity aircraft is lovingly called the Vomit Comet. It also has a third pilot just to manage the alarms. They are standard passenger jets after all. Poop poop pull up. The fudge are you meatbags doing? Autopilot, probably. In Prometheus, I always assumed the engineer's reanimated head was CGI. Was blown away when I discovered it's really advanced puppetry. Thanks for sharing this. I am both creeped out and immensely impressed. The crooked man from The Conjuring 2 was not CGI. He is a real person named Javier Botet Lopez. He has a condition called Marfan syndrome that allows him to contort his body beyond normal human limits. X200B. Edit. For a better understanding, Marfan syndrome is a genetic disorder that affects the body's connective tissue. Oh, this guy does a lot of monsters. He is super cool and kinda scary when you can see what he can do with his body. I love seeing his work. He's damn fantastic. A huge portion of Mad Max, Fury Road, was practical effects. The cars all being functional, and all the crashes being real, was one thing, but having the guys actually swaying around on the poles is another beast altogether. And the dude's guitar actually being a super heavy rig that could be played and shoot real fire. Trivia, that dude's name is Comatose Warrior. He even has a backstory. Still, the original Jurassic Park movie. I guess that's not exactly a practical effect, but that fudging T-Rex eye is something I think about pretty often. God, that movie must have been so crazy when it came out. Even today it looks better than I remember Jurassic World looking. I saw it 5 or 6 times in the theater when it came out. As an 11-year-old, it was mind-blowing. Late to the party as always, but there's a scene in one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies where a giant centipede crawls out of a girl's mouth. That was a real centipede crawling out of her mouth for real. I read somewhere that they originally wanted 3 but the actress would only agree to 1. 1 centipede is 2 more centipedes than I would agree to. So, you'd agree to 1 centipede crawling into your mouth? Wait, this isn't what I wanted at all. You already agreed. Quick, get the centipedes. Gladiator. They actually burned down that forest at the beginning of the movie. It was slated to be burnt down by the Forestry Commission anyway, so Ridley Scott did it for them. Plus real tigers. The Gladiator trainer guy, on the other hand, took a lot of CGI work as the actor died of a heart attack during filming and they chose not to recast. The costume for Swamp Thing looked so impressive I thought it had to be CGI. Really shocked when I found out it was all practical effects. Apparently for the new Amazon Tick series, recently cancelled, they blew a ton of their CGI budget just erasing the seams in the Tick suit. Rip the Tick. Late to the party. But that scene in the new IT when Pennywise is talking to Georgie and he zones out, then his eye goes all looped. Like his right eye just gives up and walks away. Bill Skarsgård can actually do that. That and being able to point his bottom lip. Can't wait for chapter 2. Point his bottom lip? He can make his bottom lip into an almost perfect V shape when smiling. Dude has insane facial control and it really worked in it. Me sitting here testing if I can. The hallway fight scene with altered gravity in Inception. I honestly thought they were on a green screen with some 3D effects. Turns out it was a rotating corridor guy running around the circular hallway in 2001 was a huge rotating set piece. I was thinking, Inception was more recent than 2001. Was there an earlier Nolan film with a circular room? And finally I realized you were referencing 2001, A Space Odyssey. In the Silent Hill movie, the effect for the weird movement of the nurses was achieved by having the actresses walk backwards and then reversing the film, so it looked like clunky/awkward forward walking. In Silent Hill they actually just mimicked this effect. But it is how all the Red Room scenes are shot in Twin Peaks. The actors even learn to deliver their lines backwards so they come out sounding correct but unnatural when the footage is reversed. Oh, Twin Peaks is amazing. I need to watch Twin Peaks. Apparently almost no CGI in Elf. Just super clever depth tricks. So you're telling me Santa is real? Of course he's real. I know him. You sit on a throne of lies. Wallace and Gromit. Honestly, it's really cool how they used clay and freeze frame to such detail. I love Chicken Run. Is that also claymation, or an animation knockoff? Claymation. Same studio as Wallace and Gromit. It's mind-blowing that all the orcs you see in the Lord of the Rings trilogy are actual actors that went through hours of exhausting makeup and prosthetics work. Just goes to show how revolutionary this movie is even after all these years. and they decided to abandon that process for the Hobbit movies and disappointed everyone in the process. I always find it frustrating how the orc/Uruk-hai look more convincing in the original than the more recent one. Same thing goes for the more recent Jurassic Park films.